This is a throwaway, but this involves some absolute high school drama nonsense that someone my age should have to deal with, but maybe I am trippin' and missing something. So here I am. I 45M, share a daughter, 17F, and son 15M, with my wife 41F. My wife's best friend 40F has two daughter 18F and 15F. My wife's best friend moved to our town about big years. My wife and her best friend have been not so subtly pulling for the two 15-year-olds to end up together. I find this weird and low-key creepy. About 2 years ago, wife's BF's youngest daughter appeared to have developed a crush on our son. My son talked to me about it and he had zero interest. So we discussed how to tactfully but firmly let her down. She has approached him again a number of times over the last couple of years and he has reaffirmed his lack of interest. This past summer, my wife's BF's oldest daughter turned 18. Her parents went all out for her birthday. It was a whole weekend of festivities and events. One of the events was a couple's dinner for the oldest daughter and all her friends in couples. The younger daughter of wife's BF wanted to go to the dinner but did not have anyone to go with. She asked my son and he agreed to go, but only as friends and just this one time. So they went together. After the dinner, the couples all watched 10 Things I Hate About You together. It was my son's first time seeing it and he commented that he thought the Heath Ledger singing scene was cool. This is important later. My business partner, 44M, every year, for the last 5 years, throws a huge Halloween party. All our employees are invited along with close friends and family. The party requires a costume, and at this party, there are prizes for best individual costume, group costume, and couples costume. My wife's BF and her family are obviously invited every year. This year, the Halloween party is tonight, October 26th. So let me get to the reason I am here. About a month ago, my son is at school and comes towards him as my wife's BF's younger daughter with a whole song and dance routine. She ends it by asking him to be her date for the Halloween party. My son was so frustrated and reiterated for everyone to hear that he is not interested in her like that at all. Of course, it being high school, some kids laughed and she ran off crying. She has been bullied pretty badly because of it. My wife's BF is livid and thinks our son owes her daughter an apology. My wife agrees and thinks, at a minimum, he needs to defend her against the bullying. My son has said that for 2 years he has told her he is not interested and reiterated it over and over. At this point, he thinks it's kind of harassing to him, and it is not his role to defend her harassment of him. I agree with my son. My wife and I have had a number of disagreements about it since it happened. Well, things have intensified in the last couple of weeks or so because another girl, who wife's BF's daughter apparently does not like, asked our son to be her date for the party and he agreed. They are doing a pretty dope couple's costume. This has really pissed off my wife because she thinks he should, at least, not go to the party with another girl out of respect. I think that is ridiculous. I plan on driving them to the party with me. My wife now does not want to go to the party and is saying I am an AH and raising our son to be one. Update. Given the events of the past couple of weeks, I thought I would give an update. My wife did not come to the Halloween party. I took my son and his friend and they had a great time. Unfortunately, only came in fourth in the couple's costume voting. After the party, tensions with my wife died down considerable. She still felt what I did was wrong, but she took a what is done attitude. The bullying at school has gotten more intense. Apparently, my wife's best friend's daughter confronted the girl who my son did take to the Halloween party. That escalated the bullying from other girls, and 2 factions have formed among the girls in 2 grades over this, and it has gotten out of hand. Apparently, some accusations have been thrown around about cheating at my son by various girls. My son has been unbothered because all his truly good friends know the truth. Last Friday we got a call from the school wanting to meet with us about the situation since my son was the source, their words, not mine, of the issues. We met with some of the administration and one of the teachers on Tuesday. They wanted my son to help the situation by defending my wife's best friend's daughter to their classmates. He refused and talked extensively about her harassing behavior over the past 2 years. They pushed against his description of her conduct. But we ended the meeting with my son promising to provide a list of her harassment over the past 2 years. Tuesday evening my son prepared the list and showed his mother and I. When my wife saw the list, it was like scales fell from her eyes. She got pretty emotional, apologized to our son, apologized to me, and we had a good group hug. She is now 100% on our side. She asked our son if she could share the list with her best friend. My son agreed. My wife's best friend's response was to double down. My wife is going low contact for the time being. On Wednesday, we took the list to the school. It is a private school and has a strict code of conduct for students in and out of school, so there is a possibility best friend's daughter may have some type of punishment for her behavior. I took my son out of school for the day and we hung out all day, just dropped him back off at school today. So this is the update. Edit. I wanted to add something I said in the comments. My mom for years was a counselor. One thing she taught me is that repentance and forgiveness are not events, but processes. Also that in order for a relationship to be restored, there must first be repentance from the wrongdoer. In light of that, a practice she had our family do was to write letters when one of us caused harm to another. The letter includes in detail: 1. The wrong the person has committed, 2. The resulting harm that was done, 3. The immediate actions that will be taken to mitigate the harm, and 4. The long-term actions being taken to mitigate the harm ensure the action is not repeated. My wife is currently working on her letter. The person who receives the letter can respond and request that additional actions be taken to address the harm done. My wife knows she is only at the beginning of the process and that it is going to take time. This will be the final update. After everything that went on with the school last semester, my wife's best friend decided to remove her from school, and she is now going to the local public school. But a week ago my son received an email from the daughter apologizing for everything that occurred last semester and asking for them to remain friends. Apparently, her dad finally set her down and explained how everything she did would look from a guy's perspective. My son wrote back and said while he accepted the apology, he thinks it is best that he keep his distance. He wished her luck at the new school. My wife's best friend still insists that my son should apologize to her daughter. My wife has said in no uncertain terms that shit isn't happening. A few more kids were disciplined by the school since my last post, but things have calmed down on that front. We are doing family counseling and it has been going well. That is all. This is the final update. Top comments. Commenter 1. The sad thing is, if it was Op's son harassing the wife's friend's daughter, then things probably wouldn't have gotten as far as they did without the police getting involved. I'm glad Op's wife and the wife's now former friend's husband ended up siding with Op's son and explained to the daughter how and why her behavior was inappropriate. At least she learned her lesson, unlike her mother. Commenter 2. Wife's friend knew deep down that the situation was out of hand but doesn't have the wherewithal to come back down to reality, let alone apologize. I think she's the real villain of the story. She influences the child and doubled down at every opportunity. Commenter 3. Your son has been a champion through this whole thing, as have you. I'm glad your wife has come around, even to the point of shutting down her friend, who still doesn't get it. I hope there's no more drama coming your way. Commenter 4. Wow, this is a perfect example on how harassment of a male is ignored, swept under the rug or downplayed. You believed, sided and supported your son, and it's refreshing to see that happen. Kudos to you, Dad. Your son wished this girl well and said he wishes no more contact with her, and that's it. Tell your wife that the girl is an obsessed stalker. Yes, she is a stalker. Remind your wife that you never engage in a stalker because it only encourages that crazy behavior. Also remind her that your son cut ties with this girl and that's the end of that. He owes her no apology, and if she insists, it might be time to have a deep discussion with your wife and how she should be protecting your son and not worried about the feelings of a mother-daughter nutjob duo.